Gerhard, thank you so much for joining the show. It's just great to see you again.
It's awesome. Thank you so much. I feel honored that you invited me.
Well, Gerhard, so of course I've known it, you've heard this before, but I'm a little bit of a fanboy because, you know, my first year in professional selling back in 1992, one of the benefits of selling photocopiers for the Eastman Kodak company was, number one, a spectacular sales training program that, if memory served, lasted a little more than 3 months down in Rochester. And as soon as I got home, there were 2 issues of Selling Power magazine waiting at my address. So I've been on board for 3 months, but Eastman Kodak gave all of their sales organization a subscription to Selling Power magazine. Now, I know the magazine was about 10, 12 years old by then, back in 1992. Tell me a little bit about your journey in professional sales and how it led to Selling Power magazine.
Well, that's an interesting question. So, by the way, thank you to Kodak for ordering Selling Power magazine for over 1,000 salespeople. I remember that invoice that we sent and the money that we got.
You always remember the big deals, don't you?
I always remember the big deals. And I know in 92, we also got Cadillac. Every Cadillac dealership got a subscription. They had about 1,200 subscriptions. And UPS in that same year got over 3,000,
Wow.
which we had to ship in bulk through UPS.
Wow, it's funny, isn't it funny? You always remember these huge deals you do.
Yeah, because I also remember getting a check for $79,000 twice from UPS in the same year, and I sent I called the VP of sales who was in charge, and I said, Ross, I have a second check. One came within a week after you paid us. Is that a renewal for next year? And he says, oh my God, our finance department made a mistake and I want to rub their noses in it. Can you send me the check and I bring it personally over to the CFO? And I'm gonna have some fun with that.
Oh, that's a great story. That's a terrific story.
So to answer your question,
please.
I was working for a French construction equipment company, actually in Salzburg, Austria. You see my background where I grew up.
You see it, yeah.
And then they transferred me to their headquarters in Paris. And I was in charge of international sales training. We had 1,600 salespeople in 42 different countries. And we cranked out sales training kits in 4 languages. Every quarter, there was a new training kit for everybody. And we had international meetings where the training directors, different regions came together and we mapped out a learning strategy. And one of the things that that was the emergence of video at the time. I was keen on exploring how can we use video for training. And at the time there was Xerox Professional Selling Skills course #2, and they had role plays. And I thought that's a good idea. So I created and designed video vignettes that showed effective selling situations, categorized by opening, needs analysis, presentation, and closing. And I hired actors in Paris to show those video vignettes. And we used that to create an interactive video training program where salespeople would watch the videos, we would discuss the selling skills that they saw, and then put them in the driver's seat, have them role play, videotape them, and have the group analyze what was good and why, and what could be improved and how. And they were so effective that we did a test with the German subsidiary. We went to 16 subsidiaries, trained 350 salespeople, and their sales went up by 38% within 6 months. So it was very intensive, and I wrote articles in the business press, and then they transferred me to the American subsidiary, trained their dealer organization, and I was in charge of sales. And I really enjoyed myself. But then the company made a major global move by merging, and they offered me either severance pay or get a promotion and move to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I always wanted to start my own business. So I had a little nest egg of $25,000 and made the decision to start my own company, Gerhard Gschwandtner and Associates, and I thought it was a good name. And I did sales training consulting. And actually, it was easy to sell for me because I was published in different magazines, and like in Sales Marketing Management magazine. And people came to me and say, how do you do this interactive video training? And I quit on a Friday. It took my severance money. On a Monday, I saw my first job with a company in New Jersey, and one thing led to the other. And within the first year, I really doubled my income, and I had a lot more fun. Was traveling all over the place. And at the same time, my wife had twins. And she said, is there a way where you can, travel less? And I said, yeah, I can create a training kit and sell it. And instead of me traveling, have my training kit travel. And so I made the shift in strategy, created a $495 package that was in 2 quota carousels, Kodak, by the way, with 2 audio cassettes, about 100 to 160 slides, and a leader's guide and 5 workbooks. So I packaged it all together, sold it for $495, and I needed to create a direct mail piece, and it was expensive. It worked, but I looked at the margin and I thought, this is not going to get me off the road. Selling that one course, either I create a second course or lower the direct mail cost.
Right.
So I had the idea when I was talking with my graphic designer. I said, those pieces are so expensive, postage and everything. And I said, what's the cheapest thing to print on? And he says, newspaper. And I said, here's an idea. Why don't we call this newspaper Selling Power? And we create an 8-page newspaper tabloid. We write about all the experiences I had about effective sales training and put an ad in there and send it out to companies and see whether they buy the course. So we tested it side by side, and that newspaper pulled just as much as the fancy direct mail piece at half the cost. So profits went up, and then something strange happened. I got a call from somebody from Northwestern Mutual Insurance Company and said, can we buy 100 copies of your Selling Power tabloid? And I was stunned. I didn't expect that. I said, what are you going to do with it? And he says, well, there are great articles I want to share with my sales force. And I said, sure. And I got other calls. So I sold, actually, with that first go around, like 2,000 copies of my direct mail piece, which was a newspaper, that had good selling tips. And then my wife said, well, you actually have a new business here. And I said, what?
Sure do. Yeah, you got a magazine business here.
The publishing business. And I said, I don't know anything about the publishing business. I probably just got lucky with that one thing. And I said, but it's worth a try. I'm always for experimenting, innovating. So we created a second edition, did the test, produced more copy sales. And then I finally had the guts and said, with the 30th issue, we are going to come out in 1981 with 6 issues. Send me $12 and you get a 1-year subscription. And I said, if I get 500 subscriptions out of this or more, I continue. If I get less, I got to refund the money. And sure enough, within 6 weeks, we got 1,200 paid subscribers. By the end of 81, we had about 8,000 paid subscribers. And then the magic happened. Those 8,000, 90% of them renewed. And then pretty soon we had 150,000 circulation. We were on all the newsstands. We were in the back of United Airline seat pockets. And we had actually an interview with the CEO of the Four Seasons, who is in Toronto.
Thank you.
And he said, this is the best article I've seen. I want to buy 75,000 copies. And he put it in every Four Seasons hotel around the world.
Holy smokes.
Right.
Well, Gerhard, first of all, what a story. And by the way, I'll date myself a little. I remember in '92 getting the magazine, thinking it was a very high quality magazine. They were glossy pictures. It had a very, firm cover. It was the type of magazine that would survive well in the back of, an airplane seat. But for years, I kept all of them because, again, Kodak had paid for the subscription. So I kept them almost like the same way I keep my Harvard Business Reviews now. Because it was a beautiful, well put together magazine with great tips. And it really added to the professionalism of B2B selling. So fast forward today, the magazine continued until what time? And now, of course, it's a digital magazine, still spectacular. And
Thank
great
you.
Content.
Well, 4 years ago, we shifted. No, it's not 5 years. We stopped printing and published online. And we still do special editions of the magazine. Like we just did a special edition, 24 pages for a Lego on the topic of virtual selling. It was a big hit, thousands of downloads. And, there's a lot of great content when you have a digital experience where you not only read good articles, but also see videos at the same time. It's a great experience. People love it.
Well, I think you were so far ahead of your time then for a couple of reasons. Like, first of all, you invented video training for professional selling. Right at that time, I had a really forward-thinking hockey coach as I was playing kind of prep school hockey. And they were videotaping everything we did on the ice. And then after the games, and the video machines were giant. It took 2 people to do it.
Right.
And then we'd be up extremely early the next day before school, watching and rewatching and watching. And it was this use of video. So when I actually landed at Kodak, they did the exact video training you're talking about. And I just thought it was so spectacular. And it's interesting, Gerhard, because with what we do now, we do the same thing. We do video role playing, but somehow over the last 10, 15 years, a lot of that disappeared. This is new for some companies. They haven't had the same training and onboarding programs that the Xeroxes or the IBMs or the Kodaks in the day provided.
Right.
But that is still.
But here's the thing that people need to remember. When you get salespeople in a room, they all appear very confident. They all appear very competent. However, when they are on the spot and do interactive video and do role plays, then you discover that their perception of their performance is much higher than their actual performance.
Yes.
So they're imagining themselves to be playing in a higher league, but they're not. I also know that from, you did video analysis of the hockey game. Then you discover in the analysis that you were not as fast as your opponent, that you did not have your stick ready or whatever, that you discover a lot of blunders, a lot of mistakes. And we learn from the mistakes that we are aware of. And a lot of salespeople make mistakes. They're clueless.
Right.
Unless there's somebody else guiding their thinking and say, you could have taken a turn in this conversation, elevated to a higher perspective, and give the customer the time to rethink their initial judgment. Or you could have translated that value that is not in a generic way, but in a more specific way that the customer can relate to. So that kind of flexibility of thinking, of thought, is something that good coaches know how to do. And it really comes out in this video training. And there is a company called secondnature.ai that uses a bot. They call it Jenny. And you can role play with the bot. And then you get feedback that's quantitative, but also qualitative, that Jenny will analyze your enthusiasm, your tone of voice, your body postures, but also the content, whether you were on track, whether you explained the benefits, or whether you used too many words, or whether you were able to persuade your counterpart.
By the way, in this day and age, who wouldn't want that? So if you're in a professional sales, it's no different than they still, of course, or all professional sports leveraging video and analysis and deep data analytics in terms of performance, and all of those things make us better. It's funny how you say when you watch yourself on camera, you behave so much differently. Absolutely the case. I still do it, by the way. We still use videos. Some people do a recording of some of our games, and it feels my save seems so much faster. I'm a goalie when I did it versus when I watch it.
Right.
So things change. But who wouldn't want that in today's day and age, in our lifelong learning and continual development, growth orientation, leveraging that growth mindset to continue to get better.
Right, because we need to dispel the myth of the kind of thinking that leads to omnicompetent confidence when people actually, in reality, don't perform as well. And we need to make people aware of the better ways of selling and communicating. We are in a conversation economy, and words are the new currency, and value is the new currency. And if you can improve the conversation awareness that you don't have while you're engaged through other means like Chorus AI, or like Gong.io, then I think in the future, the salespeople, or maybe that already exists, have a whisper function when the computer analyzes their conversation and it says, Mark, here's another topic that you have forgotten about, and it's time to talk about that.
The technologies you've mentioned, some additional technologies do that today.
Yes.
So while you're on the call, you'll get some, whether it's a battle card or a next question will actually pop up as a recommendation to help you in the moment.
Right.
Absolutely. Gerhard, you brought up this point about the omni-confidence and competence in sales. And let me ask this question, because I think you're in a very unique position. You've trained more than 10,000 salespeople. You've interacted because of the Sales 3.0 conference and Selling Power. You see everything in the marketplace. Do we have that challenge today in the 1 in 10 people who are in a professional sales job? Are we overconfident? Is that an issue today?
No, I think that we all have, that's a human trait, illusions of competence when we are not really performing at the highest level. And I want salespeople to recognize that there is an opportunity. Don't be a know-it-all, be a learn-it-all.
Very good. So don't be a know-it-all, be it a learn-it-all. That may make its way to the introduction of this podcast. So Gerhard, tell me a little bit, one of the things I love about the YouTube videos that I've seen for you on your channel and for Selling Power, you've actually interviewed some of the most famous people and successful people in the world. Whether it's Mark Benioff from Salesforce, Mark Cuban, all of the biggest names out there, Richard Branson, Mark Cox from In the Funnel, all the big marks you've interviewed.
Yeah.
What tell me a little bit about some of the common traits, from a mindset perspective of some of these leaders. I know you do a lot of coaching, a lot of training on mindset. what's his common theme and the
See,
importance of
what I'm
mindset?
fascinated by is how do people achieve that optimal functioning
Mhm.
that is expressed in three ways. In the way they talk, meaning the stories they share, the comprehension of the current situation and the world situation, but also, secondly, their psychological composition, how they
Okay.
feel about themselves, their level of enthusiasm, their can-do attitude, their definiteness of purpose, and there's a third dimension, which is physical, that successful people, they groom themselves, their body, condition their minds in a way that they show optimal cognitive, psychological, and physical functioning.
So how do these things then combined when we start to combine for when we think about someone in professional sales today? So how do these, when we think about these three different elements, how do they apply to what we're doing every day, or why are they so important? You know, you start to think about information overload
Right,
and a
right.
typical day.
The thing
You
is
know,
that psychologically healthy people, they have a capacity to appraise reality objectively.
okay.
They don't catastrophize. We actually did a survey with the University of Massachusetts at Amherst, where we gave him access to peak performers that earn over $1 million a year, and average performers who earn between $150,000 and $250,000 a year. And the peak performers, they have that capacity to appraise reality objectively.
Mhm.
They don't catastrophize when one thing bad that happens. They don't think that this is a series of bad things that's about to unravel.
Right.
They think about their chances of winning realistically instead of engaging in fantasy. They deal with reality in an optimistic, opportunistic way, and not in a pessimistic, defeatist way. They have a growth mindset. They're aware that success is the result of the right mindset, the right skill set, and the right tool set. And they are able to learn from the inside out, not from the outside in. Meaning that if salespeople get exposed to a new skill set, it's not going in until they change their inside. And inside learning is all about getting into a different state of being. So if somebody says, here's a cold call script, go and make those 20 calls in the next 30 minutes.
Yes.
It changes the state of mind in the salesperson, and they experience fear or sweaty palms.
Yes.
Because they don't know how to perform in a different situation. They don't know how to get from the limited mindset, the fixed mindset, to the growth mindset, where they say, I'm going to experiment with that. I'm going to play with that. I'm going to learn something new. I allow myself to fail, and I allow myself to learn in the process.
Well, we love that discussion around growth mindset and fixed mindset. And I think it's the Carol Dweck research or the Carol Dweck book. And one of the key points she brings up that's so helpful, hopefully for the people listening today, is you can change your mindset. Or in your life, you may already have a growth mindset in one area of your life. You might be a professional salesperson, but perhaps you're a super high-end musician. Or you're a neophyte, novice musician, and you're just learning, but you understand the more you learn and rehearse and practice and get training and coaching, you understand you can get better. And when you can take that and see a growth mindset in one aspect of your life, you can actually apply to other aspects of your life as well. And by the way, it makes the whole journey so much more fun when you understand that. because then when you get feedback, or then when you fail or challenges occur, you don't see them as permanent, or you're not wearing a scarlet letter that says
Right.
I'm a failure.
Right.
It's just part of my path to success. It's my next step along the journey.
Exactly. And you're reframing the narrative on the inside. There's a wonderful book by Waitzkin. He was a chess champion, and then he stopped playing chess and applied what he learned about learning about chess to Tai Chi push hands competition, and became international champion. And he wrote a book called, let me pull it up, The Art of Learning.
Oh, great.
An inner journey to optimal performance. And in that book, what struck me as fundamental is, unless we learn on the inside, where we come to a moment of imbalance, where we give up the old skill that we are sort of married to, if you will, and let go of that, and then embrace the new skill and allow ourselves to fail with that. Because when you learn a new skill, you're going to fail until you realize, oh, there's a new way of handling that. There's a new way of thinking about it. And then you master that skill. Then, so you make that leap from the old skill that's ineffective to a high performance skill that brings you to the next level. But you have to go through that valley of devastation and frustration. And I remember when I started to play chess 2 years ago, when COVID started, I wanted to challenge my brain, and I thought chess is a gym for the brain. And I've learned it as a kid, but I haven't played in years. And I got smacked down over and over and over. The first 1,000 games, I lost like 800 of them. But now I'm in a situation, I've gone through that valley of disappointment and frustration. And now I'm over 10,000 games, and I win more than 52% of the games.
And by the way, obviously you're playing online, you're playing against the computer?
Yeah. I play with people from, let's say Nigeria, China, Japan, every country in the world, Norway, or I played with somebody who lives in Vatican City. It is amazing. There's a community out there that is very, very, very smart people.
Oh, sure there are. And by the way, it's also the fun thing to hear is, you kind of took advantage of a bad situation with COVID and said, hey, what can I take from this?
Right.
Along with the, hundreds of thousands of people who had a, Peloton shipped to their house and started becoming better athletes, but because they had to train in their basement. It's these folks that actually, we take every opportunity to try and learn and develop.
Right. I got a tunnel. And I think, personally, I think Peloton didn't appeal to me. You do the same thing over and over, which is pedal. But with tonal, you work the entire body.
Yes. Yeah, my brother got the total and loves it as well. Yeah, my brother got that one as well. So Gerhard, we're back on to, the mindset, and this goes all the way back to years in the past, but it's lasted because it's so effective. I got this from the early days of Selling Power, the mindset, skill set, and tool set. I was always trying to take that with me as I was going through, my sales career, which continues now within the funnel and all those kinds of good things. And the top salespeople that I ever came across, they had those things, and they always had that growth mindset. They had this innate curiosity about two things: their clients and prospects and customers. They just couldn't wait to learn about what was important to the other side of the table. But they were also really interested in what was working for other people on the sales team. The top performers always seem to, want to have that conversation and say, listen, you just did a great deal here. What's working?
I think, Mark, we need to talk about what we haven't talked about, which is self-talk. Uh, you know the positive self-talk of high performers, and it's easily explained. However, it is very difficult for people to realize that it is actually their own self-talk about events. The way we interpret reality is through a narrative, and that narrative is really governed by unconscious forces. People experience about 60,000 thoughts a day, and NIH did a study and found that 80% of those thoughts are negative. And there's another study by Dr. Lozarda where she says, you cannot flourish unless you have a ratio of 3-to-1 between positive and negative thoughts. So how do you change that paradigm? How do you change that unconscious thought universe that's actually sabotaging you? It's not your thoughts that are, your conscious thoughts that are winning. It's your unconscious narrative that is pulling you down. And so first you need to become aware that you have these thoughts. Secondly, you got to train yourself to become a thought observer and not a thought advocate. Don't be an advocate for your negative thoughts. Become detached. So imagine that you are the owner of a guest house.
Yes.
And people come in and out. They check in, they stay a little bit, and then they go. So consider your negative thought as a guest that is actually welcome in your house. You can say, come in, sit down, and tell me a story. And observe the thoughts instead of fighting with it. Or if you say that thought needs to be kept out, I want to suppress it, it doesn't work, it's counterproductive. And you just accept the thought for what it is and let it be, and it dissolves, it disappears. Or you can engage that thought with an adult conversation, because most thoughts are echoes from a childhood that was unfortunate.
Oh, wow. So how do we, let's go over that again, Gerhard. I think that's an important point because, first of all, the 60,000, thoughts that anybody's going to deal with in any given day. So we said 80% of them are negative today, but to flourish, we need a 3-to-1 ratio of positive to negative in terms of the thoughts, the ones that we sort of own and absorb. And when we have these negative thoughts that might pass through our consciousness, just let them pass through and move on and focus, fill your consciousness with the positive. And language matters. Self-talk matters. Is that correct?
Yeah, and it's almost like learning a new language. You want to observe the signals that go through your mind. And you're not a guilty person. You're not doing something wrong per se, but you want to change your perspective from feeling bad about the thought to observing the thought and become a neutral observer. So you remove yourself one step from identifying with that thought. You created that thought, but that thought is not you. That thought is a changeable object. By observing it, it changes.
And so where do things like journaling or writing down these
Excellent idea. Excellent idea. What people are not clear about is who are you? Who am I? And we need to consciously keep track of those thoughts that create sort of a composite picture of who we are as a person. And journaling helps because you put all the thoughts together that flow through your mind. And I think it's a good idea. Some people have morning journals, and they write about what they're dreamt about or what they're thinking about in the morning, or what they're going to do during the day, and have sort of a plan for the day. And other people have an evening journal where they put down all the thoughts that cross their minds that have a residue, and get them out of your head so you don't take those thoughts into your dreamland. So you clean the table, you sleep better, because unfinished business tends to be remembered longer. So thoughts that have not been sorted out, they tend to come back in form of dreams or nightmares?
That happens to me about twice a year,
Good.
and maybe once or
Not
twice
often.
a year. And that's what I do. If it's that and I'm lying there, because usually I'm just a wonderful sleeper, but I'll have to get up and I'm gonna write it down and it's out. I do like, Gerhard, what I do is morning positive focus, which is something I've learned from a great company called Strategic Coach, and I'll jot down great things that have happened and try and get intentional just about 3 things for the day. These are the 3 things I want to accomplish today. One of which was to really be in the moment and enjoy this podcast, because I was so looking forward to chatting with you. You're one of those people that your positivity, your energy, your optimism, your intelligence, they're all contagious. And so I feel just great about having this chance to connect in with you again. I'd be chatting with you for hours if you'd let me do so. Hopefully we'll get a chance to do that when you come to Toronto. But firstly, I just want to say thank you so much for spending some time with us today, Gerhard. Just such a pleasure connecting in with you again. And I'd like to ask you.
It is a privilege to spend time with you.
And I'd like to ask you, Gerhard, the folks listening today, how do they learn more about the Sales 3.0 conference, about selling power? Where's the best place to go to get connected in?
Yeah, go to sellingpower.com. You'll find it all.
And folks, do find it all. Go and grab that wisdom. Both digital and in-person conferences coming up for Selling Power. Is that correct, Gerhard?
Yeah, our next live conference will be in Philadelphia on June 13th and 14th. And you look at sellingpower.com and watch some of those videos, see what speakers we have, what agenda we are going to pursue. I'm thrilled and delighted that we can go back face to face.
Oh, so am I. Yeah, we've just started doing that, and boy, it just changes everything. Gerhard,
As
we're
they
going to see
say
each other.
as they say, nothing takes the place of face to face.
No, it's absolutely true. Thank you again, Gerhard. We'll speak again soon.
Thank you, Mark.